My name is Malcolm Butler. I'm a Foreign Service officer with experience in state, OMB, the National Security Council, and USAID. The best experience I had as an aid mission director, which was a terrific job, was in the Philippines, where we decided, the United States decided that we wanted to make sure that Cory Aquino succeeded in taking the country into a healthier place than it had been under Ferdinand Marcos. And we mounted a very large aid program, and I was asked to go out and head it up. Our program was aimed at a successful reform of the economic system, but it was broader than that. It was also about reaching into the country and the people of the country and the regions of the country, so that they would know that the United States was behind this transition. There was a very overt political element to the program. Although, as an aid mission director, of course, my job was to make sure that each one of the individual programs succeeded at the grassroots level. I spent an awful lot of time working at the ministerial level in Manila, but in fact, some of the most rewarding experiences I had were out in the countryside, where I dealt with the governors and the mayors and the people who were trying to take programs which were formulated at the ministerial level in Manila, but then make them happen at the grassroots. And one of the most successful areas we had to work in was Cebu, which was, because it was a more developed part, it wasn't really an abjectly poor rural area. It already had a good running start. And that was for two reasons. One, the people of Cebu were entrepreneurial and hardworking, but also because the governor of Cebu was a guy named Lito Osmeña, who's had a family history of public service going back to his grandfather, who'd been president of the country. And most of the governors of the Philippines were under Cory were very strong administrators. But Lito Osmeña was a special guy because he had 3 generations of public service. Like many of the governors, he and his family over several generations ran Cebu on a very personal basis. He was not corrupt to my knowledge, but the family had done fairly well over 3 generations. And I went down once to make a speech that he had asked me to come down and make. I can't remember what the subject was, but it was in a big auditorium. And while we were making the speech, the two of us were on the platform, and suddenly there was a quiet in the room, and I noticed everybody was looking around, and I looked around, and it was because suddenly some armed men had appeared at the various entrances to the auditorium. And about the time I was noticing that and trying to keep the speech going, a couple of other rather large armed men with long guns slung around their necks appeared. And I looked over at Lito, and Lito kind of gave me this, "It's okay, I'll tell you later," sort of gesture. Okay, so I finished the speech, and Lito then pulled me aside, and he said, "I have some bad news." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Your colleague in the embassy, the assistant military attaché, who I knew to be Nick Rowe, has been assassinated. And these people are here because we're concerned about whether there's something bigger about this." And I said, "You mean me?" He said, "Well, we're here to protect you, and it'll be fine. Don't worry about it." Okay. And I'll cut this short. It can go on forever about all the precautions that they took. But at the end of it, we were getting ready to leave, and I thanked Lito personally, and I said, "I really appreciate your making your security people available to protect me." And he said, "I'll tell you the truth. The reason they came is to protect me. because they thought you were going to draw fire. Well, I was thanking Lito for having put his security people out there to protect me in case they were. The fact is, I had been on the same hit list that Nick Rowe was on, and I think when the embassy called to tell Lito that of the assassination, they may have sort of mentioned that. But anyhow, Lito, after I thanked him profusely, he said, "I have to tell you the truth. These are my boys, and they're here to protect me because they thought you were going to draw fire."